Welcome to the Brightlands Startup League Kickoff event 2025, coming to you right here from the Brightlands Smart Service Campus in Heerlen, Limburg. Today we're bringing together innovators, ecosystem builders, and founders to share their inspiring stories and ambitions for the future. Get ready for inspiring conversations with investors, innovators, and leaders who are changing the startup ecosystem in Limburg. Next to join us is Meerte Wortman, a founder and a specialist in personal branding. She helps entrepreneurs discover who they truly are outside of their business. Meerte, thank you for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
Can you give a quick introduction to who you are?
To who I am, like with my company or without?
Let's start without the company first.
Okay, so I'm Meerte, and from the age of 13, I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I was very young. And looking back now, so I started with being an entrepreneur at 18, so quite young, but never really knew what I was doing, but always having like a sense of telling stories from other people. And now I have this company where I help people telling their own stories, and I'm specializing in personal branding and then also a kind of personal leadership. So who you are, how do you show up in the world, and what is the impact you want to make with that? And yeah, it's an amazing journey. Like I never knew that from the age of 13 that I had this feeling like someday I will do this and I'm gonna do it. And then one day I will be sitting here and telling my story to you.
It's a great timing as well, right? With everything that's happening on social media, personal brands becoming so much more important right now. It's even sometimes personal brands lift a company up.
Yeah, they do,
it's,
for sure.
The brand of the owner or the CEO, it's completely different than the brand itself, but it really elevates everything.
Yeah, so the thing is, you see, especially I think now with AI, that people are really recognizing that being a human is so much more important than having a logo. And a logo can tell a story, but it's way harder because people don't trust logos, they trust human beings. And by that, you really see like this trend. Yeah, they call it a trend, but I don't believe it's a trend. I believe it's like a new way of showing yourself to the world and really making an impact with where you're coming from or what you're doing right now and why you're doing that. And yeah, I so believe that that's the new way of doing, like especially with AI and all the authentic bullshit is like cutting out. You can bring it back in by just being human. And that's it's amazing to see and being part of the grown in that.
And how do you go about helping others with their personal brands?
So I always start with like your identity, so who you are and your values, because I really believe that's overlooked. Personal branding is a term people see as marketing, but I believe it's so much more. So it's literally for me about who you are and why you do what you do. So we start with the values, with your identity, with a lot of stories about your background. And usually I start with a session of 3 hours where it's only questioning.
Intense.
So you're talking about yourself for 3 long hours. And that's special for people because they normally don't talk about themselves for that long. And especially when it's about something you're so passionate about or trying to find you're passionate about. Because most of the times entrepreneurs are like very passionate about entrepreneurship and building things. But they're also like a little bit like, who am I in those whole stories? And why do I want to be that person? So I help them with that as well. And from there, we're going to look at the context. So what's your business about? What's the branches about? What's the trend about? And how can you put yourself in perspective? And from there, we're going to look to your potential. So who do you want to be? Who do you want to be in the future? What do you want to do? And why do you want to do that? And then you create this impact gap, I call it. And the impact gap is the gap where you're going to analyze, like, okay, so if you want to be there, like the next 5 years, how are you going to go there? What do you need? And that can be very foray. So it can be in personal branding, but also can be like releasing trauma on being seen. Like it's so, you never know what people are struggling with, why they're not showing up. So that's how we do that.
I can also imagine that is sometimes it's quite difficult to get people to really share about what it is that they truly want in the next 5 years. Because I know a lot of my friends are also entrepreneurs, and we package ourselves in of like, we're doing this now, and then that's it, and that's for now. And we know we have a goal or something like this, but it's a very generic goal. It's like either you want to be rich or you want to build your company into something. But I'm guessing you're going more into the personal aspects of who do you as a person want to become in the future? And I'm guessing, do you see some like similarities between founders and things in these things of who they want to become in the end?
Yeah, I think I have this thing where I attract a lot of people that have amazing dreams in how they want to impact the world. So that's also something I really focus on, because I love to work with people that are so like inherent with their why. And I think having a purpose is becoming such more part of our lives, and even more with the technology and even more with all the things that are changing around us. We as human beings are really sensing like, okay, so why am I even doing this? And with me helping by that, so really asking you on, okay, but why do you even start this business? And why do you want to sell it again? And what's the story behind that? And then usually when you go back to their youth, you see that there's like this spark or this thing what really sets them on fire. And that's mostly the path they want to walk, but not always daring to walk. Sense of all those kind of stories or things they are telling themselves. And from there, they find that thing that they want to do in the end, like in the long game. And what's amazing about that is that what you see is if you talk with people about, okay, I want to be like this author of 3 books in the future, like 5 years. And you're going to think, okay, but 5 years, 3 books, then I have to start writing now. Yeah. So you also like pesting it forward and really setting people ahead in their plans so they can make maybe even more impact than they were planned to do. So that's amazing.
And why this area
for
of
me?
Work? Yeah. Why?
So when I was 13, I had my first depression. So that's very young. And for me, there was always this sense in the darkness that I felt a little voice within that was telling me like, one day you're going to help people with this story. And I did that. So I had eventually a podcast for 3 years myself. And that podcast was about how willing you were willing to go to naked. Like how much are you really sharing about your life? And for me, that was just such a highlight in really finally having the platform to share my stories and tell about depression, tell about mental health, but also about sex and like all those things that have taboos. And that's in that moment, I realized that I can make so much more impact if I help others with telling that story. So yeah, that's my why, because I really believe that everyone has the ability to change the world a little. And we just have to believe in ourselves and have people on our way with us to believe in us as well. Yeah.
So you would say that's your purpose. You feel like that is to help people find these
these whys, and how they can make an impact. It's also like finding your why is amazing on itself, but if you don't know what to do with it, it's still not really worthy. So how are you going to make that really into a business, into a personal brand, into whatever you want to be to create that impact? So I'm there like pushing them and kicking their butts and things like that. Yeah.
And we are here today at the Brightlands Startup League event, and you're giving a masterclass here today.
Yeah.
Can you walk us a little bit through what you're going to be doing in this masterclass with the people here?
I hope that I'm really going to activate them in taking their personal brand seriously, because we all have a personal brand. People mostly say to me like, I don't have personal brand. I'm like, yeah, that's not true, because personal branding is nothing more than the way people see you. And you can constantly choose to affect that or not. And for me, is it on? In this masterclass, I really wanted to show them how you can take the first steps in having a personal brand that really suits you and really can impact other people.
And you've mentioned some on your LinkedIn as well. Wie ben je echt zonder je bedrijf?
Yeah.
It's like, who are you really without your company when you strip it down? Is this something you're going to touch in on as well today in the masterclass?
Maybe. I don't know. We're really talking about also how you can, like with your founder story, get extra funding, because I really believe that's a big part of why you're getting funding is who are the founders. Yeah. So that's like mostly the big reason I'm here today, to share cases I had and to talk about why your founder story is so important in trust from the funders. So
interesting you bring that up, because I was going to ask about that as well. It's like, how do you think that role plays in getting funding in? Because I believe it plays a major role also how people see. So if you do stupid stuff on social media and an investor sees that, they might actually have a second thought of, maybe not.
Yeah.
How do you see that relationship?
Well, I really believe that in the end, people are not per se investing in business. Of course, they are investing in the product or the thing you want to build, but they invest in you. And the way you perform yourself to the world and what you're letting seen and the stories you're telling and also the influence you have. I think a lot of people underestimate the influence from founders. And if you have that influence, people are taking you seriously. And if you're taken seriously, it's way more easier to get funding. Yeah. And you always see that people that have big personal brands having like funders in line standing up like, can I finally give you money? Yeah. I really want to help you. So yeah, it's so underestimated and it plays a really big role. Yeah.
And how do you think people here, so startups that are part of the Brightlands ecosystem, just a quick advice, how would someone already now start making their personal brand better, right? Because I'm trying to work on it as well with the podcast, all these kind of things, but I'm not going to lie, it's quite a daunting thing to look at. And a lot of the questions that I have is, how do you start?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with entrepreneurship, right? How do you begin?
Yeah, you just begin.
Yeah, but how would you just begin with building your personal brand?
So to me, the easiest way is to first always start with writing down your values. And let's start with 3. So what are the 3 most valuable things you want to bring into life? So for me, it's authenticity, being brave, having a connection, making impact, and then giving those values meaning. So why are you writing them down? And how are you showing up in that, in your business, in your life? So that gives you a sense of who you are, like a little bit, of course, it's a whole lot more, but that's the beginning. From there, I always ask people why you're doing what you do. And a great task for that you can do is like asking yourself 7 times why. So are you doing what you're doing? Why? And then you come to this deeper sense. And I think that deeper sense is a great way to start your personal brand. And you can also like write a story about that and write a post about that. And that's mostly, people really underestimate the moment you post that into the world and people are seeing that and you always get good feedback. Like that's just, there's no one's gonna be like, oh, I don't believe that, or that's a shitty story or whatever. And from there, it's just what is the thing, of what are the things you're experience in building the business that's interesting or that sets you on fire or that gives you another perspective. So not only about, okay, I did this today, but that's a lot of things you see, you know, I've been in this meeting today with X and that's interesting because, that's not interesting for me to listen to. What's interesting is to hear your perspective. So why was it interesting? What did you learn from it? And personal branding is not only about who you are, but also what you're doing with that. So what's your thought leadership? That's like the new word for it. And what's your vision to the world? And why do you bring that to the world? And I think that already are so much stories to tell. And I know it's a step, but you have to start somewhere. And it's still for me, like doing this kind of things is still not per se comfortable. I'm a little bit more comfortable now than I was 2 years ago. But you just have to start and figure it out and know that whatever happens, you will be okay. Because you will be okay. And you will survive.
What's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
people have an opinion, okay, so what? And that's like a really big lesson for me. I've learned the hard way is when people are not standing in the arena with me, their opinion doesn't matter. Yeah. So when they are not showing up, when they're not being seen to the world, their opinion is not that important anymore. And that really helps me to cut off the noise and just be there and do my thing. And I really believe that kind of energy also helps in what you're radiating and how people react on you. Yeah.
And it's a bit like, right, why should you listen to someone who is at a place where you don't want to be?
Yeah.
Why does their opinion matter?
Yeah.
And I'm also guilty of that. I also listen to their opinions a lot of times and then I'm like, that's not so nicely said or something like this, and then it makes me sad. But in reality, you should just...
Yeah, and you have to learn that. Like, it's nothing, you can't decide on one day, okay, I'm never gonna be affected by that. But you have to learn by doing that it's not, that in the end, it's not affecting you. Yeah. And that's like, it's really just about doing it.
When you're looking ahead the next 3 to 5 years, what are you most excited about in the space you're working in?
I think people being more humanly. You really see this trend, and I'm not always like a fan of how it's been doing now, but you really see a trend where people are showing up, where people are telling their true story, where people are talking more and more about the things that we couldn't talk about like 5 or 10 years ago. And to me, even in being an entrepreneur, because I really believe that entrepreneurs can change the status quo. And if we change the status quo, we can change the world. Yeah. And thereby, it's so exciting to see that all those entrepreneurs are now stepping up and telling their stories, and not only the good stories, because a lot of people think entrepreneurs this famous life where you get all those amazing, but it's really hard. And it's, I think there are more low points than high points, and it's and it's so good to see that we finally have this wave of people are really quite honest about that and not really ashamed anymore. So I'm excited about that.
It's also one of the reasons we started the podcast is because we heard so many people, especially my family, they were like, "Oh, so you're rich already?" Yeah, it's quite the opposite actually to that right now. It's not very glamorous right now. We have no money. We're trying to make something work, but it's difficult to get it. The grind, it's quite difficult. So I'm also agreeing that it's nice that people are more sharing. Also, the people from the Fortune 500 companies and how they got there. It's not always so glamorous. And when you hear about what they had to do to get to the point when they're 50, 60 years old, when they have everything, and you have obviously once in a while a very rare case of someone who's very young who really made it great, but they also have their
of course
low points in this as well. So it's definitely important to share that as well.
Yeah, and I'm also so excited that like it's so to me it's a little bit easy to, when you're standing on the mountain, like, oh my god, the view is amazing, they come watch the view, you know. But it's so amazing to see that a lot of more people now are telling the stories while they're walking towards that view. So you can really go on this journey. So they also call it, there's a name for it now, like building in public. So you can really feel how it is to build a company. And it's not that roze geur maneschijn and amazing. And I think that's also like a really good thing, that it's so easy to tell how difficult it was. Yeah. But it's even more inspiring to me if you can tell how difficult it is right now.
In the moment.
Yeah.
But it's like what the famous saying also that Alex Hormozi said, right? That everyone wants to get the view, but no one wants to climb.
Yes.
But now people are showing the climb to get up there as well. So now people are getting more perspective of, okay, it is not as easy as it's said. Yeah. If you could leave today's audience with one sentence to take home, what would that be?
That who you are will give you, and living from that will give you such a profound life. Like that's so much more important than money, success, or whatsoever. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest joining us is Pieter Kubbe, a neurosurgeon who has developed an application to further educate surgeons to keep them up to date with the newest techniques done in surgery. Pieter?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you give a short introduction to who you are?
Yes. I'm from the south of the Netherlands, from Limburg. I work as a neurosurgeon in Maastricht University Medical Center. I also get called the nerd surgeon by my colleagues. I started programming in medical education, which went to mobile apps. Development app which became #1 on my profession worldwide. And this hobby actually grew out into a startup in 2020. And that's what I'm here for.
And your startup is called Neuromind?
Yes, correct.
Can you explain a little bit about what it actually is you do with the startup?
Yes, quite a lot over the last years. So I developed an app called Neuromind, which started as a cheat sheet for neurosurgery, evolved into decision support. And that's also how we started the startup in 2020, to move forward in decision support and make it more professional. And then slowly started adapting to new landscapes and pivoting towards personalized continuous medical education. And that's where we are now. So what the app focuses on is to provide a better education experience for physicians, for doctors, because we all need to stay up to date in literature and new developments. But I sometimes compare it a bit to the old CD and now iTunes, Spotify era. You used to buy a CD when you only wanted to hear 1 or 2 songs, but you still got stuck with the whole CD. And that's still how we actually train, because we go to conferences, which is quite carbon intensive, so not environmentally friendly. But I also go to a conference in which maybe 20% is relevant for me. And the other 80%, well, it's nice and I get my points, but it's a bit of waste. This is something we want to improve. And of course, there is already online CME. So CME stands for Continuous Medical Education. But it's quite unattractive. It's a bit boring. It's still quite labor intensive to produce. So it's always behind the latest developments. And of course, I mean, there's a lot being done with AI. This is also one of the applications. If we now combine trusted medical resources with modern AI techniques, in particular large language models, we can fine-tune this content based on the preferences and needs of the individual healthcare provider, providing an actual superior experience to traditional conferences. And I'm not saying that conferences don't have any value, because, of course, in interacting with colleagues, this is something which we couldn't as easy emulate online. But if we survey my colleagues, essentially, is what I did, then they actually say, my generation, I'm 47, my generation says, well, look, if I could do half of the accreditation, which is 40 hours a year in total, so 20 hours on a yearly basis, if I could do it online, I would prefer, because then I don't have to travel, I'm not away from my family, it doesn't disrupt my work-life balance so much, but then it needs to be more attractive and more fitted to my needs. And for the other stuff, conferencing, interacting with colleagues, then I go to conferences. But then I also more liberate to choose where I want to go to.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
So for my understanding, and for people listeners' understanding, who exactly is your target market then with the application? Is it people who are in the medical education, so from starting with the residency and going up to becoming surgeons, or fully educated surgeons already?
Within my app, I capture around 20% of the neurosurgeons worldwide, which is the audience which grew over time with the app which I developed, which is also our beachhead market for this application. In the end, the goal is wider. It's to medical doctors, but indeed, medical doctors who do need to obtain continuous medical education. Of course, we can hypothesize about how we could move further into residency or nurses, but we got to start somewhere, and also the focus is quite important to optimize the experience.
Definitely.
So the focus now is medical doctors who already are a specialist or a GP, primary specialist, and need to obtain their credits.
You said in the beginning as well, it's always changing, right? The medical information on how do you do things, procedures, and you always need to stay up to date on this.
Yes.
How do you make sure that then in the app all the information is up to date? Because and I don't know how often things change, but I'm guessing on a weekly, monthly basis, there can be new things that come out from research.
Yes, absolutely. So when I talk about trusted medical resources, I mean, PubMed is one of the major go-to resources for medical content, Embase, some other archives. But you also get more recent updates in bioRxiv or medRxiv, for example, which are indexed in PubMed as well. So if you use these search engines and then combine it with capacities for modern AI tools and AI agents, you can more easily and more quick, actually, capture this new knowledge. You still need to have a medical doctor evaluating the whole thing for accuracy, because otherwise the LLM could start, spinning around. So some checks are mandatory, in particular when you want to obtain formal accreditation, which helps if you want to sell it to physicians because they have budget for accredited courses. Then you need to have this manual check. But if a lot of the preparatory work is already done by the LLM, by the algorithm, saves a lot of time and makes it much easier to provide education which is really up to date, which is hardly possible nowadays.
How did you start building it? Because you said you got the idea, conferences and stuff, but it's quite a bit from being a neurosurgeon to then also being able, like an app developer, right?
Yeah, well, I also started with saying I also get called a nerd surgeon, which is for a reason. So the apps and the stuff which I just talked about, I programmed them myself. So I started programming HTML, then later PHP, MySQL, moved to some other languages. So I've done quite some programming and mobile language, mobile app languages, platforms, cross-platform stuff, native stuff. And nowadays this is Python, of course. I mean, to me, of course. But I also did the programming myself. Obviously, it gets easier with the LLMs who also can help you coding. So some repetitive stuff, you don't need as much time. But also the prototype of what I just talked about, I built myself.
So we can pretty much call it a hobby turned into business.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yes.
It's a very complex space as well. Neurosurgery, first of all, it's a super complex topic to get into that. But also the app development, but also the education of surgeons.
Yeah.
How do you stand out in the space of educating the surgeons?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, it helps a lot that I'm one of the peers in the group, which is competitive advantage, which is, I mean, not impossible, but more difficult to replicate because, I mean, let's be honest, anyone can program an LLM. It's not the most difficult thing to do. But to make sure that it delivers accurate, reliable content, which is also trusted by the peers, because without this trust, you start nowhere. That's already something which requires content knowledge. So you do need to have this on board, and especially not just from books, but also in practice, how do things work and being able to reflect on it. So that's an advantage which I have coming from the background and just working in the field, including the associations of which I'm a member. So the networks are also helpful. So this is one of the things. The other thing is because I am a neurosurgeon for now 11 years, so I am already obtaining these credits myself for 11 years, which also gives the personal experience of how it is, what do I like, what don't I like. And of course, that's an NS1, as we would call it scientifically. I probed colleagues at conferences like, okay, well, what do you think about this? And I was actually pleasantly surprised from an entrepreneurial perspective to find a very high confirmation of this feeling I had myself as well.
Yeah, so you pretty much got first-hand validation before you even started. That's very valuable to get. Yeah, and we are here today now at the Brightlands Startup League, so the start event of this league now, and you're now part of this league as well. What does this kind of community do for you in terms of the app and scaling this?
Well, I think first of all, enthusiasm. When I got the questions to prepare, I was thinking about this. Well, okay, well, what is the first thing which actually comes to mind? Because there are a lot. And what I really like, so I combine entrepreneurial with clinical work and also academic work. And in academic work, the foundation of science is rooted almost 100 years ago by Karl Popper. And it's on a principle called falsification. So academically, the first question to ask is, why wouldn't it work? Because if you can't reject anything, then it's likely going to be true. Which also, so this critical approach is quite valuable. But what I really find inspiring, and that's what I also get in all these Brightlands events, is the opposite atmosphere. So there's really like, yes, we can do atmosphere, which of course doesn't always hold up in the end. But I find it really inspiring. So I think it's a very good counterweight, and both approaches are valid and important in their own context. But I really like this inspiring can-do approach, which I find back in all these events.
Yeah, nice. And where do you see Neurominds in the next 3 to 5 years if you look into the future? What's the vision for it?
Well, the vision is actually to provide a superior alternative for on-site CME, and definitely for current online CME. So the goal, if I look ahead in 5 years, regardless of some regulatory hurdles we still would need to take for that, but it's a truly personalized CME experience. So really making sure that people get the education which suits their preferences and needs, which is something which is totally impossible with either static online technologies or on-site technologies. And I mean, on a, well, call it subtle side effect, but I mean, the scientific community expels more than 1 billion kilograms of carbon dioxide on a yearly basis. And the majority, like 96% of this, is related to travel to conferences. Yeah. So I think if we could already follow the preferences of people who say, look, I prefer to do half online, and we get to reduce half of that, that's 500 million kilograms of carbon dioxide. That would be huge.
And now they say also traveling around to conferences, just for the picture of it, where are these conferences usually?
That depends, but I mean, the more specific the topic gets, the more international, of course, they are organized, which means the further the travel will be. But with these technologies, I mean, you could as easily provide a very specific training as a more generic training. So for the online technology and the AI, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, super dope. Also, just to go back to the app quickly. So I'm a neurosurgeon. Let's pretend I haven't nothing.
Well, with the app, you could quickly become one, maybe. So
my girlfriend studies neuroscience, so I have a little bit of an idea, but not about the surgery at all. But I need to educate myself on the newest things that have come. I open the app.
Yeah.
What do I see?
Well, what you will get, so we're currently revisiting it. What you will get is first a set of offerings, so accredited courses, which you have available, but also non-accredited content for just keeping you a bit up to date. And with the current regulatory, but also technological state, it's really mandatory to check all content by myself at this point. So by a content expert, which also means, and that's also one of the things we surveyed, 80% of the customers gives back. We rather have a choice of topic, so you determine the topic, but you also check that it's correct.
Yeah.
Then that we get to choose whatever we want, but we don't know if the LLM is spinning around. So at this point, we'll make offerings starting in neurosurgery about recent updates in the field, which we can also do recent updates. And the long-term goal is actually that you could even pick your own topic, but for that we have a few things to still solve. And we don't need to start there.
And how big is your team now that is working on this?
We're now starting with 3 people.
3 people.
Yeah.
And are you looking?
I mean, that's so the support of Brightlands not included.
Yeah. Okay. And are you currently looking for any investments or anything to kind of secure the funding for this so you can scale it?
Yeah, we still are. So we already got one investor on board.
Congratulations.
Also, thank you. We're still looking for investment of about 25K.
25K.
And depending on actual practical involvement or not, there's of course also a share package in return. What we would like to do with this investment is first hire a commercial CEO part-time, because I learned really a lot of entrepreneurial stuff, but my primary background is medical and also technical and some education. And maybe to some extent I could be called a jack of all trades, but I'm definitely not primarily an executive profile. So that's learning by doing, but somebody who already did the trick, who has more experience, would be really a welcome addition. The other thing is it would help to scale more quickly, because now we're focusing with a primary investment at neurosurgery, but we also need to pay for accreditation, and we could expand quicker to other markets. Very adjacent to neurosurgery are both neurology and orthopedic surgery. But we also need additional investment actually to just not to create a content, but to cover the accreditation. So those are things we actually would like to do. It would help to speed up.
Yeah. And how do you think the Brightlands Startup League can help you attain those things?
I think in this case it's primarily networking. So it's the matchmaking events are the ones in which we also found the other investor. So besides the enthusiasm and we can, yes, we can mentality, I think the networking is also quite important, because if I start running around in the hospital, I just don't bump into those people. Yeah. And I have other things on my mind.
Definitely. Perfect. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next guest joining us is the founder of Van Kneus, a bold food startup that eliminates food waste in creative ways by using produce that is no longer fit for supermarkets to create delicious products. Harold, welcome. Could you quickly give an introduction to who you are and what it is you do here at the Brightlands Startup?
My name is Harold van Amerom. I'm here because I was a member of the Blink family. Blink family is a Brightlands accelerator program last January, February. And they invited me to come to this investors lunch.
And what makes you qualified to go to the investor lunch? Do you have a startup? Are you an investor?
I have a startup. It's called Van Kneus. It's a typical Dutch name. For English people or German people, they don't know what Van Kneus means. Van Kneus is something or someone who stumbles around. And that is exactly what Van Kneus does. Not stumbling around, but using ingredients that are stumbling around. Van Kneus uses ingredients that are residual flows from fruit and vegetables. And we try to use these in common products, which are now also on the market, like cold soup, like bread, like cakes. And we use these residual flows then for making these products.
Yeah, and your tagline with the company is minder perfect is veel lekkerder. So less perfect is much tastier.
That's right.
Where did the idea come from for this and for the startup?
Okay. Well, nothing in life goes like a straight line. Well, for some people maybe it does, but most people don't always going in curves. So the vegetables we use are also curved. They're too big, too small. There's something a little bit off, a little bit of the peel off. But these vegetables, these residual flows are fed by the sun, breathed by Mother Earth, and they are perfectly well for using in products. So that is minder perfect is also lekker.
And how did you get to the idea to start this?
Well, to be honest, one of my friends is an importer of vegetables and fruit from all over the world, and he saw that the residual flows were everywhere, and it's such a shame. It's a kind of food loss. And he asked me to join in. I had a company. I sold my shares in 2020. So COVID started in. I had a lot of time, and he asked me, well, because you're at home, why don't you help me with this project? It was a student project, and they came up with some products, and we said, hey, this should be and can be great when we are trying to do everything with these products. So the first thing was a cold soup. We thought it was a niche in the market. In the Netherlands, I can say, snecht with pancakes, this pea soup with pancakes. This is typically Dutch, and gazpacho is typically from the south. And you don't see any gazpacho, cold soup in the Netherlands. We thought it was a good replacement of the sugared smoothies. So this is why we started this company.
And going into the food industry, it's a very defined industry already. There's a lot of opinions in it. It's very straightforward already. The vegetables have to look a certain way when you display them in a supermarket. How did you get into that kind of market, and how did you feel that journey?
Oh, it's quite a journey, and it's a challenging journey also. For your understanding, my history isn't in food anyway. I'm a finance guy, so I had to start thinking about food in another way. And because of my history, my personal history, I'm half Indonesian, half Dutch. And in my family, there is no waste at all. Everything that is left over is used in another meal. So when I had to think about myself and my next step in my career, I thought the use of residual flows, my background, it was great to resemble this together. And but I have to be honest, it is far more difficult to get into the food business as I thought it was. I had a big disadvantage in not knowing anything. Now, after 5 years, I know a lot, but not everything. But I thought it was a challenge to get this knowledge and to try to get a position in the food business. And we are still trying to get a position in the food business. But I think it's an opportunity to reduce food waste.
Yeah, for sure. And have you encountered any kind of stream against you from other companies that are like, we don't like you doing this?
No, not in that way. Surely not, because in the startup league and in the Blink program, we are always startups. And everyone helps each other. So this is not in that way. But then again, it's difficult for a startup to get into for retail, for instance. This is difficult
to get the space in the supermarkets on the shelves.
Exactly. So we tried it, and now we are more focusing on food service and wholesale. This is more the market where we can get a position in.
Because I'm guessing also when you look at the competitiveness of the field, you're not taking that much of a market share from what you call the beautiful vegetables, because you're not taking that share away.
No.
So there you don't get the competition from that aspect.
Eventually we are supplementary. Just the ingredients that are not suitable for the market, we try to get these out of the market and try to make another product of it, which doesn't show that it's not that perfect.
And we are here today at the Brightlands Startup League, the event of that. And how has the Startup League helped you guys get this product made it bigger, get it out there?
Now, in the Startup League, I broadened my network. We got acquainted with other companies, but also with people who try to help me bringing it to life. And this is what the Startup League does. Broaden my network, and of course, we all thought we knew already everything. But then when you talk to other people, you get to know and you get these extra information. So, okay, we didn't know that. So this is what Startup League does.
So you learn a lot from it as well with the network and everything. Yeah, great. When we talk about Van Kneus, the startup, making the food waste get into proper food and all this kind of stuff, what is your North Star with the company? What is it you're working towards? What's the ultimate goal with it?
The ultimate goal is that Van Kneus becomes a name which also was used internationally. When we pinpointed that our company name was going to be Van Kneus, someone said to me, okay, Van Kneus is just a typical Dutch name. And I replied at that moment, well, Heineken is also, and Heineken is known all over the world.
Yeah.
That would be the holy grail, I would say. That Van Kneus is also known in other countries as the company that uses residual flows into making products, new healthy products.
So in 10, 15 years, the goal would be that I walk into a supermarket, whether that will be in Denmark or Germany, and then
That would be great.
we can go in and get a Van Kneus soup.
Exactly.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Then how about like this? Sorry, I'm going to rephrase that one. When we talk about residual food waste, how do you source your product? Do you go to the farmer that then says, my potatoes are not nice enough to be sold in the supermarket and I'll sell them to you?
This is what we do.
Okay.
This is exactly what we do. And we, at first, we used the products that came from all over the world to my colleague, one of my shareholders. But now we try to get them locally. We're talking to growers, breeders, and ask them, do you have any residual flows? And especially at this moment for sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes normally come from Egypt, from South Carolina, America, and South America. But still, there are now also breeders of growers here in the Netherlands and in Belgium. And we try to get these residual flows. You have to understand that 40 to 45% of the yield is a residual flow. It's not sold to retail, to consumers. 40 to 45%. A little bit of that is used as for fries, and the other goes to the animal feed. But because if they are too small or too big, no one wants a potato. It's 1.5 kilo.
Yeah.
It's too big.
Yeah.
So, but we can make a mesh of it. And that's very easy. So we use these residual flows then, in our products.
So I'm assuming then as well that the farmers are very happy with this because they can potentially sell their crops for a bit of a higher yield than if it would go to animal feed.
Yes, you should say that. But then again, everything has its price.
Yeah.
So we try to pay the fair price. But when he gets more selling it for animal feed, he will sell it for animal feed.
Yeah.
This is,
That's how it fluctuates. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then being a finance guy from origin and then coming into this whole industry where you have to go talk to farmers, you have to try to get all the food and you have to sell it to supermarkets. How has that change been for you?
Big. It's a big change. I was talking about reporting financially annual reports, and now I'm talking to farmers about their crops.
Yeah.
And it isn't that difficult also, because when you're talking in the same way and you show them that you also love this product, which he puts every effort in it, in breeding it and growing it, stands up and early in the morning, goes in this land and tries to grow these, I'd say, the sweet potatoes or asparagus, you can call it. The result is a click then.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice to do something completely different from what I always did.
Yeah. It's also this mutual beneficial thing, right? Because you're there to help the farmers sell the produce, but they are also, they help you get the produce that you need for your startup.
Yes, that's right. And then again, because we are making nice products of it, he's always ready to talk me into how it can be better product.
And then how will an event like today here at the Brightlands campus, how will that help you grow the company and get your products to the shelves or start with the retailers more?
Just at the investors lunch, you talk to other companies, other startups, and see what challenges they are facing, talking with investors, trying to talk about how they see companies like us and the other startups, and which regulations they have in funding us. Yeah. So this is nice to be here and hear what how they think.
Yeah,
and this is what I get from this day.
Yeah, so a lot of feedback.
A lot of feedback.
Yeah, a lot of feedback. Yeah. If you had one word to sum up how your experience with Van Kneus until now has been, what would that word be?
That's one word: challenging.
Challenging. Perfect. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for being here.
Rolf, welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You work for the LIOF.
Yes.
And you are an investment manager. You work with startups for the LIOF. But outside of that, how would you introduce yourself?
Well, outside of me being an investment manager for Leof, I'm. My name is Ralf Hunnekes. I live in Weert with my wife and my 3 kids. I love to run and do CrossFit on a recreational level. Not that much of an athlete, but I just enjoy doing it. I just very much interested in startup development and everything that is required to make an idea a company and to de-risk and validate an idea to gain real traction for it and to scale it up. Yeah.
And we are here today at the Brightlands Startup League event, the kickoff of the league. What are you looking for when you're walking around here today in the startups?
To be honest, I'm primarily here to network. So I'm eager to learn what new faces we can see in the startup ecosystem, what new ideas might be around, get to know people, get to know the ideas that they're working on, and see if we can help them and see by providing the right financing for really taking that next step. Yeah.
And now you say help the startups. What exactly does Leof do and what do you offer with Leof?
Yeah, so in a broad sense, I think Leof is there for knowledge, network, and financing. So there's mainly 3 pillars. We look at societal transitions that's focusing on energy transition, circularity, health, and digitization. So a lot of different transitions, but really what are current, let's say, challenges in society. And then we have instruments, so to speak, can either be subsidies, loans, or equity investment to really help founders forward whatever their question for Leof is, and try to link the instrument to the question the entrepreneur has.
So by now you've probably seen a lot of startups come through, come to the Leof, ask for funding and ask for advice.
Yeah.
What are the most common things that a startup needs to have ready before coming to you, or can they come at any stage?
I would like to say come at any stage, but then referring to what I already said, it's not always financing. It can also be advice or network. My advice to startups would be, really quickly connect with Leof and see where you're at, and we can almost help every entrepreneur to take a next step, whether it is with a specific network link or knowledge. But if it's for financing, then we'll expect that you have a clear view on the problems that you want to solve with the product you are creating, so with the solution you have. And you have a clear idea of why that is necessary right now, so the timing for the product, and also why you are the right startup to fix it. Yeah.
And how important are Leof focuses on 4 transitions. It's digitalization, energy, circularity, and health.
Yeah.
And does a startup need to fall within one of these categories to be considered for an investment from Leof, or because you also have subsidy funds and things?
Yeah. So depends on which fund. But if we're talking about early phase funding, so we have, let's say, convertible loans and equity investments from the Limburg Startup Capital Fund. And this fund predominantly focuses on these societal transitions. But then again, they are broad, and we just want to see how you drive impact with your startup.
Yeah.
And the societal transitions are for us, let's say, a way to look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
When you reflect on all of your experience you've had with the Leof, what is one advice you would give to startups here today to really, I'm going to say, kick ass?
Yeah. So one advice would just be look for smart capital, right? So. I think it's important when you onboard a new shareholder in your startup, for instance, that there's real connection between investors and founders, because it might take some ups and downs to really scale your startup, and it's really important that you feel, let's say, a good connection that you think it's that you can discuss all kind of challenges with the investor at hand, whether that be Leof or another investor, and that that investor has value to add to your company. Yeah.
Let's go a little bit more into detail on this smart capital.
Yeah.
What exactly do you mean with that? Is that just that the investor you talk to is also helping with other things than just the money part? Or is there something bigger to the smart capital term?
So for me, this falls apart in two categories. You either have, let's say, generic smart capital and specific smart capital. So it's really, I think it's a really good thing maybe to combine them in a co-investment or something like that. If you look at Leof, we are generic investors. So we invest in a pre-seed and seed stage in startups. And I think our knowledge is more in the space of, okay, what is needed to be investor ready, and how do we qualify for following on rounds, and what milestones are important to tap before we qualify. Then Leof has specific network also in follow-on investors, and try to help you in, let's say, not only in reaching new investors, but also in subsidy and grant programs, IP questions, all generic business development questions, I guess. And then you have smart capital in a specific sense. And then you're talking really about domain expertise, market expertise, which some of that is in Leof, but I would say you should also connect with other investors on that, because if they only invest in your specific niche, you can expect them to bring network and really domain expertise in scaling up your type of company.
So really, for example, if you're in the healthcare industry, then ideally you would get someone who is familiar with the healthcare industry, or maybe even done something potentially similar to what the startup is doing.
And even healthcare is quite broad.
Yeah.
If we're talking about digital health, or are we talking about let's say a new drug or a new medical device? It requires a different approach. Yeah.
And then as a perspective from the Leof, how do you see the investment scene here in Limburg, south of Limburg, and with the Brightlands campuses also evolve over the next few years?
Yeah, so I'm very glad to see we're pooling together our efforts in this Brightlands Startup League. You see all Brightlands campuses and Leof joining in bringing the ecosystem together. I think that's a good way to go about it in Limburg. So we're already we're a dense ecosystem, so to speak. There's a lot of innovation in Limburg, but it's all close by, and I think there are some people in the ecosystem that everybody knows, and you should reach out to them in a certain point of your business development. And I think that sets Limburg apart from other regions, because it's a close ecosystem. It's easier to connect, I guess, and to find the right person to tackle a specific challenge. Yeah.
And how important do you think this kind of community is for just the general economy as well from the region?
Yeah, I think as a whole, so let's say startup investing and venture capital as an asset class is gaining more and more importance. I think the speed of innovation at startups is just at another level than what corporates might do, or research organizations or something like that. I think it's clear for everybody that this is a good alternative also to bring innovations to market at a speed we need in this, let's say, high developing times. It's really important to enable those startups to take the next steps. So the ecosystem should be there to support them and help them maintain the speed, which is by nature, by design, a startup thing. Yeah.
And then to wrap it up, would you have one sentence to kind of motivate the startups who are here today to really keep going, even though sometimes it might be a bit tough to be in a startup?
Yeah, I think from experience, I work almost 10 years at Leof. From experience, we know that it might take twice as long and twice as much more money as you think you think to reach success. But if you have, let's say, the right investors on board, and you can keep your, let's say, nose down and remain the traction and build, then everything keeps possible. So you have to really, dig hard to get the results.
You really want it.
You want it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hal, for coming.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Next to join us is Thijs Verheul, founder of United Wardrobe, and in our conversation we'll discuss how he founded United Wardrobe and how he exited this company to Vinted and his experience throughout the whole process.
All right. Are we going to clap?
Yeah, we can clap as well if you want to. Thijs, welcome. Could you start by just explaining a little bit about who you are?
Yeah. My name is Thijs Verheul. I'm 33 years old. When I was 21, I founded United Wardrobe, basically the Dutch Vinted. Crazy long story, but eventually we had a platform of 4.5 million users who were doing almost 45 million general marginal value of clothes. And we got bought by Vinted in 2020. And at this day, I'm still a Vinted shareholder. I'm investing in startups like Breeze, Eddie Grit, Hadrian. And I'm a part-time carpenter. So that's me. I live in Utrecht.
And how did you get started with United Wardrobe? What kind of sparked that idea of that's something I need to start?
Yeah, it was my co-founder Jules, who has 3 sisters. And those 3 sisters were exchanging clothing, and it did not have a safe and secure marketplace. And he asked me to create it together with him. And first I did not believe in it at all. But then finally he convinced me, and we just started and made the first version and put it live.
And it's a good decision to start it as well.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, a lot of startup entrepreneurs, they have like 3-4 businesses and then they go bankrupt like 3 to 4 times. And then the 4th company is finally a hit. And it was literally my first company ever. I was 21 years old when I started it, and it was crazy. Bit luck, a bit of hard work.
Yeah, for sure, hard work. I can believe that as well. Probably more hard work than luck. But you create your own luck, right?
We never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
And how was that journey then? Because you're saying you were a first-time founder when this kicked off as well.
Yes.
How was the journey of being the first-time founder to then actually founding something that scales like this?
It just went naturally, you know. We just knew we needed to have like a lot of people using it, be better and bigger than Marktplaats.nl.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like as a student, you know, I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have kids, you know. I was basically working all day, all night, checking my laptop all the time, and had a lot of time, you know. That's the perfect time to start a business because, your future is still unknown. You have a lot of time, and it's just random.
And how do you complement with your co-founder? Because I'm guessing if you build this together, you have complementary skills that you both could work on this.
Yeah, Jules is a really easygoing, chill guy, and I'm like really ADHD. And I was like busy all the time doing deals and doing crazy stuff, and and he was like the one that kept me close to what was important, and I kept Jules close to what was important, because a lot of times he didn't want to pick up the phone or do things immediately, and that kept each other in balance. And then we had a great hacker, a great developer, Thijs Slijkhuis, and with the 3 of us, we really could conquer the world.
How would you describe the feeling of selling the company then to Vinted? Because that is a lot of entrepreneurs, they say that's their dream, right? Is to sell the company to a big
It was never our dream to of course, it would be really nice to make this big exit because we were still young. But we really wanted to create a platform that the whole of Europe and eventually the whole of the world would use, you know? And Vinted is that platform right now in Europe, but still, in a couple of years, they will be everywhere. And yeah, you know, we could have exited and we made good money out of it, and I could become a vintage shareholder to this day. It's amazing. The company is growing, and yeah, but you know, of course, I wanted to be the guy like Thomas. You know, have this billion-dollar company and become a company that the whole world knows, and now everybody in the Netherlands knew United Wardrobe, but it's locally. So it was a mixed feeling. It was a bittersweet symphony. The money was sweet, but it was bitter that I had to refigure out what I had wanted to do. But I cannot complain. It was a great experience. And the day that, you know, that money came into my bank account, you know, I was just a student. I had no money as an entrepreneur. I had no money, could not buy a house. All my friends were buying houses and having great jobs, and I just had a founder salary, you know, still living in my student dorm.
Yeah.
And then eventually, the money hit my bank account, and I was like, wow, that was a crazy day in my life. Yeah.
And how did you experience that? You say now, right, that your friends were buying houses and you're still having a founder salary, living in your student dorm.
Yeah, yeah.
How was your experience with that? Because I'm feeling the same thing as well right now. Friends are getting
stressful, you know. And even now, you know, as a young person, it's getting harder and harder to buy a house, or to start a normal life, or start a family in the Netherlands or everywhere in the world. Yeah, and I when I was really young, I already had this feeling, you know, I have to do something big to secure something for myself in the future. And that was a real big motivation for me, because my parents could not buy a house for me, so I have to do it myself. And it's sad somewhere, but it's also, you create companies and stuff, and you just started doing shizzle. And if you're young and you don't know, you have this feeling like it's really difficult. It is difficult, but it's like all my friends eventually it will go great. You know, it will go great, not the right sentence, but if you just keep on hustling, you will get there. Yeah. You don't lose the faith. Yeah.
What do you look to do now in the future? Because you're also investing now in startups. What do you look for in startups that you then invest in?
Yeah, explainable revenue. Just a startup that is bootstrapped, or some founders that did the trick once and they start a new business. That's a really green flag for me. Yeah, or just people that create a platform, because I'm really a platform expert that works, you know, that has a clear customer acquisition cost, a clear customer lifetime value, and it is just profitable, making money out of nothing. Yeah, you know, and I love those small teams doing big stuff, you know. It's like nowadays you don't need 200 people anymore to make a billion-dollar company. No. If you have 20 smart kids, you can make a billion-dollar company. And I want to be the first angel investor.
Of course, I like that too.
Yeah. But it's startup investing. It's a tough cookie, you know. Yeah. It's a lot of conversations, a lot of opinions, a couple decisions. Some friends of mine ask me, hey, I also want to do startup investing. I was like, just buy crypto, man. It's more volatile and it's safer than startup investing, you know? Startup investing, you know, it's for the big funds. It's for the government and for some entrepreneurs that know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
Yeah, for me, it's also like a small part of my portfolio. And when I do a startup investment, it's like, I don't need this money. It's there. Hopefully, it's going to be something. Yeah. But
So the mentality, it's the money you can afford to lose. Pretty much. That's the mentality of it. Yeah. It's definitely also with the risk versus reward, right? Because it can be very rewarding, but you can also lose it all.
Yeah. But if you have entrepreneurs in your network, when they are doing around, and you really believe in those entrepreneurs, you can just chip in, let's say, a couple €1,000. Yeah, it can turn into 100 or in a million, of course, but it takes a lot of time startup investing. It's not that it's the next day times 30% like Oracle yesterday. And a lot of people, a lot of investors think, okay, I'm going to put money in a startup, and then the next year it goes times 4 or 5. Yeah, you have a lot of AI startups that going that way, but it's getting more and more difficult.
And when you then look to invest in a startup, do you invest in the product of it or more in the team behind the business?
Yeah, right now I would say the team.
The team.
Yeah. When I started, I was more looking at businesses, but it's a combination of both. You know, if you have 3 students that have no experience, but they created a platform where they do 20K revenue a month, maybe it's something.
Yeah.
Maybe I can help them a bit with advice and maybe with a bit of money. But yeah, and if there's an entrepreneur that sold his company and now has a new vision to create something new, that's for an investor really nice, because I know, okay, this guy sold his company. He already made some money. He's not going to quickly sell the company to make quick money, but he really wants to create something big. Yeah.
Let me think 1 second.
Of course.
I had something in my head and then I looked at the timing and then I lost it.
Take your time.
Yes. So you say you started off with investing in businesses and now you're looking more at the team.
Yeah.
Is that because of some experience that you had in investing?
Yeah. With entrepreneurs that already did it once, it's just, that these guys, they don't want to sell it for a small amount of money. They want to have, they want to create billion-dollar companies. And with startup investing is, you do 10 or 20 investments, and then one of those investments will become a new unicorn. Yeah. And then 8 will go bankrupt and 2 or 3 will flatline. Yeah. And most of these companies, a lot of people don't know is, but like 70% of all successful entrepreneurs, they don't start a business themselves, but they buy a business.
Yeah.
I read that in a research and I was stunned, because I was always like, okay, these founders are creating big companies and becoming financial independent, but it's these people, these private equity firms and stuff, they buy a company, they make it great again, and they sell it for multiple. Yeah. And that's how, 70% of all the money is being made.
That's what you see nowadays as well, right? They take over the company, it might already be profitable, and then they put AI into it, or they optimize the systems, and then boom, it shoots up again. That's how they make their money.
Yeah.
You gave a talk here today.
Yes.
At the Brightlands Startup League. And you mentioned that you're also a part-time carpenter. You also mentioned that in the introduction a little bit. Yes. Can you explain a little bit about that? Because you're going from being a startup founder to wanting to do carpenting.
Yeah, it was like also... after I bought my house in Utrecht and started renovations, I was really happy that I did not have to be behind the screen anymore, because I was for like 9 years behind the screen. And after I sold my company, after a couple of months, I started at Breeze and I worked there for 9 months and I helped these guys a lot setting up their rounds, but it was all the same again. And for me, it was like, okay, it was super random, because some of my friends asked me like, hey, can you help me for a week? And then I just started doing it. And after 2 months, I stayed there. And I realized, like, hey, working with my hands, just a radio on, doing some stuff, don't be on my phone, don't be on my email. Just at the end of the day, check everything. It gave me so much comfort. Yeah. And also I learned doing stuff with my hands, creating walls, painting, laying floors, made a roof with my brother a couple months ago. And it really gave me confidence in just working with my hands, and it just eases my mind. And I just make some money with it, and it's super nice. But first it felt weird. A lot of people were like, huh? Are you working in construction? You're a startup guy and you're like really smart. I was like, I'm not that smart. I'm just a hustler, I always had smart people around me. I just like do stuff, Yeah, and nowadays me and my wife, we want to start an Airbnb business. Maybe somewhere in France or maybe here in Limburg. We don't know yet, because my wife, she works in Utrecht. Yeah. But in the future, we want to live in nature, and then maybe have like 2 or 3 apartments that we can rent out and create a nice space for startups or just people to come relax somewhere in nature. We don't know, it's a bit fake, but I watch all these TV series about people doing that, and it always goes wrong because they have to hire constructors and stuff. So if I can be the contractor myself and I can do a lot of things myself, I will save a lot of money. For sure. Yeah, and if you're in the middle of nowhere in France and you can do stuff, it's helpful, and it's also, AI won't take my job, know?
That is very true. AI won't buy the house and rebuild it and then rent it out. That is very true.
Yeah, and I think like if you're a good carpenter, maybe in 5 years you can make like 200 euros an hour, because
there aren't so many anymore.
It's a dying breed of people that can really be a good carpenter or have a skill laying floors, building roofs or something. And it's super fun to do. My dad, he is 8 years old, and he still got all his hair and he's mentally and physically really strong. And it's because he was a window cleaner all his life. He was outside with the ladder, and sometimes I see people 50, and I'm looking at them. It's like, hey, you look like 80, and I don't know. Being outside and working with your hands is super healthy.
Being physical and staying in shape because you have to.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Our next guest is Bert-Jan Boertman, a social innovator with a track record of building world-class ecosystems such as the High-Tech Campus in Eindhoven and the Brainport Industries Campus. Bert-Jan, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, great to be here today.
Glad to have you. Can you quickly give an introduction to who you are?
Yeah, so, probably a professional introduction. Not like a philosophical introduction.
It can also be a philosophical one, whatever you want to do.
No, let's keep it professional. So, Bert-Jan Boertman, I'm a psychologist by origin. Started to work at Philips, then in HR at Philips Research. Then Philips Research decided to open up their premises and invite third-party companies and to grow and develop into a beautiful high-tech campus. And I made the transition from HR to campus site management, basically growing and developing the high-tech campus ecosystem. My first responsibility was the Strip. The Strip is the central building in the middle of the campus with a lot of facilities like restaurants, cafe, auditorium, sports facilities, and that needed to become the beating heart of the high-tech campus. For the rest, I was responsible for business development, marketing of the campus, part of the process of selling the high-tech campus to Marcel Boekhorn. Then I worked for 3 years at the university. I worked for Microcentrum, which is a party that accommodates the supply chain of ASML and ASML itself with education and the organization of events to bring people in the high-tech value chains together. Lastly, I was in Wageningen for a year as managing director of StartLife, so working with agri-food-tech startups, and really loved it. Wageningen, also a great campus. And now I'm back in Brainport working for Braventure and for the high-tech campus again on a project to, on the crossroads between education and companies. I'm doing a project for the high-tech campus.
A lot of different things.
Yeah, a lot of different things. Yes, indeed. And next to that, I'm also a volunteer in organizing events for the startup community.
Nice.
But that I do in the evening hours.
And where's your interest come from for the startups?
The startup specifically, that started like 14 years ago. I got a phone call from Jaap Heidsma. I still remember. So Jaap called me on a Saturday evening. Jaap and I, we played football together. But Jaap never called me on Saturdays. He never called me before at all. But he called me on Saturday evening and he told, Bert-Jan, I'm at such a great event right now. I said, where are you? Yeah, I'm at Startup Weekend Amsterdam. I said, okay, I don't know what that is. So he explained to me, I said, well, okay, I will connect you to the guys who are organizing it. Then on Monday morning, I got a phone call from one of the Amsterdam organizers telling me everything about the successes of the first edition of Startup Weekend Amsterdam, and that he was more than willing to help Eindhoven to organize the second edition of Startup Weekend in Eindhoven. And so we did. And this is where I started the first time I worked with startups. And that was so much fun, and I never let them go again. And I've been working with startups ever since. I was responsible for co-founding High-Tech XL, which is an accelerator, now venture builder. I developed High-Tech XL Plaza, which is a building dedicated to deep tech startups. And as a volunteer, I, together with 7 other volunteers, built a network of over 3,000 people in our meetup group, for which we organize monthly events. And then we organize awards, awarding the most promising startups in the region. And we have a website where we share all the innovation news of the region, so that you as a professional only need to keep an eye on our website, and then you're sure that 90% of what is relevant will pass your eyeballs. That's it.
So you've really built communities. That's one way to put it, right?
Yeah, community building. Yeah.
What do you think is the importance of community building nowadays in the startup scene?
Yeah, so startups are small in deep tech, biotech, materials, like here also in Brightlands. And you never know everything yourselves. So the easier it is for you to connect to others that can help, the more probable you will find quick answers to your challenges, people that are in the right moments you can call to help you solve your next challenge. So I think that's why community is important. It's important to create a culture of connection and trust, making it easy for startup founders to associate themselves with others, which is again very important for their success.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
And we are today here at the Brightlands Startup League event, and you gave a masterclass.
Yeah.
Can you give a little bit of an explanation to what you did in this masterclass?
I shared lessons learned in building ecosystems, communities in the past 25 years, as I've been doing at the high-tech campus with Microcentrum and in Wageningen. And the strange thing about building communities, it's about people. It's a very human thing. And then everybody nods, like you're nodding now. Okay, it's about people. Yeah, it's about people. But that's where it gets difficult, because how to organize social dynamics. This is where it gets messy. You just need to do it. It's not rocket science, but you need to start to organize. You need to start connecting people. These are all smart people, so they will come with feedback, and the next edition of your event will already be better. And so it's a very human thing, connecting people, and that's what I love about building communities. Yeah.
And what are some of the most important lessons learned that you shared today during the masterclass?
The most important lesson is that the soft side is the hardcore of things. And so people always think about the buildings and the facilities and the conditions, and we need childcare and sports facilities and hipsters making iced lattes in a cafe, because then innovation happens by itself. But it doesn't. Those are all conditions that are important because you want to attract top talent to your ecosystem. So they expect the perfect facilities, they expect the perfect employment conditions, they want to sports on the train, they want to have they want to have childcare facilities, preferably nearby. But when it's there, and they take it for granted. The difference is made again in organizing the social dynamics. And that's what I just said. I love to do this.
And how do you go about that, right? Because when you start something, you're pretty much starting from scratch. You have your experience, obviously, but how do you begin something like that?
Now, you have to realize when working in an ecosystem, you yourself are part of the proposition. So you're part of the ecosystem. And it all starts with listening first. Yeah. You listen to people. You talk to people. You're yourself at events, and that you have a drink with other people, and then during the drink, people share things with you. So you gather a lot of qualitative data, not just quantitative data, and those you use to move forward in growing the ecosystem. Yeah. And you need to organize execution power. So it's easy to come up with new ideas, write a policy document, make a nice PowerPoint. But you need to organize the execution power in your ecosystem to create a heartbeat of events, of people meeting each other during lunch, during sports, connecting, and again contributing to a culture of trust. That makes trust is the secret ingredient of ecosystem. When I trust you, I'm more willing to share. If I don't trust you, I will not share. And trust is typically built by connecting people. I need to get to know you. So it's this virtuous cycle. So you organize interaction, or you organize the facilities in such a way that people need to interact, or you organize events. That's why people interact during the event or after the event. From those interactions, people grow social capital. They grow affinity towards one another. Again, contributing to trust, and in such a way you create in your ecosystem a virtuous cycle. And trust really is the secret ingredient.
So you think trust is super important in this?
Yeah. If I don't trust you, I will not share. Yeah. There's also research by MIT into this. Alex Pentland, it's called Social Physics. Definitely a book worth to read. I But social physics, so what he did, he studied successful people and successful places. He gave them all like a socioscope. So it was a small little device that you wear on your body. So he could track you in the ecosystem. And tracking people in the ecosystem and the way they move around, he came to the conclusion after studying all these measurements that it comes down to two things. A lot of weak links and strong links. Weak links connect you to the flow of information and bring inspiration. And then when you have the inspiration and come up with a great idea, then it's about, who are you going to call to validate that idea? Who do you trust to listen?
Yeah.
And if you want to bring that idea to the world markets, who do you trust is willing to listen and to help you to bring that idea to the world market? So weak links and strong links, and there's other also evidence studies done into that. It's David McCone. He said, well, okay, 99% of your success, also mine success, of course, has to do with the people you associate with.
Yeah.
It's your reference group. Your reference group is very important. And on a campus and on events like also here today at Brightlands, it's easy to associate yourselves.
Yeah.
And that's, partly, or in a huge part, determines your success.
Yeah. You can never get there on your own. You always need people around you to help you get there.
And then people not.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Continuously, not one event. Because one event is not enough.
No.
You need to continuously work on the social dynamics in your ecosystem. And for that, you need the perfect hardware.
Yeah.
But the hardware will not make a difference because the hardware is just too easy to copy. So it can never make the difference. The stuff that you can easily copy can never make the difference. You can bring your architects to Brightland when you're from China, and then you make photos, and then you just copy-paste this campus in China. You go to your website, you basically build the same website, same programs. Can never make the difference. So the difference is made by the stuff that you cannot easily copy.
Yeah.
And that's, humans and the way they interact. Like Karl Marx once said, way back, society is the sum of relation connecting its members.
Yeah.
And for an ecosystem, it's the same. An ecosystem is nothing more or less than the connections, the relations connecting its members.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then to end on, one advice you would give to startups here for creating such connections when you're walking around in an environment like this? Is there a specific trick for it, or is it just being you and going to talk to people?
So I just yesterday gave an advice. So there was this startup saying, well, okay, how did you grow such a big network? They asked me. I also want to have such a big network. So, well, okay, by organizing it myself.
Yeah.
I organize the events myself as part of my job, but also as a volunteer. When you organize the event, you're also you're the host, so you stand next to the entrance welcoming people. And if you like it, you can get on stage, moderate the event, so everybody in the room knows you. Yeah. And this is an easy way to grow your grow your network. But apart from that, because startups are way too busy to organize many events, attend events, be open, listen, and go there with an intention to connect. Not just go there and see what happens, because then nothing happens. Then you will probably be having a drink with people that you already know.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. You know those people already. So look around. Listen to the speakers. If there's an interesting speaker, then go to that speaker after the event. Have a drink with that speaker. Try to get an appointment into his calendar to meet again. Build a relation. Grow trust. And from that, get access to his network. So if there's investors, know who is investors at the event. See if you can get to the list. See if you can see somewhere who's there. And then prepare. Who's there?
So preparing is also a big part of it, obviously, right? You can know everyone who's there, but just knowing that there are some people that are interested.
But go there with the intention to connect and know what you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Most people just go, but not most. I'm okay, but a lot of people just go and they want to learn. But there's people there. So with whom do you want to connect and why? And with that intention, go to the event. And then, during the drinks, it's always easy. There's hardly anybody may say, "Can I have a minute?" who will say no. But when you mail them. When they don't know you, it's easy to say no to email.
Yeah. There's no emotion.
I
in
don't
it.
know you, no.
Yeah.
But when you're having a drink and you smile, you say, oh, can I have a minute? Yeah, why not? And then you're connected. And when you then send an email with a question for an appointment, then probably you're in.
Yeah, they remember you.
Yeah,
Think you put a face to the name.
yeah,
Bert-Jan, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was nice.
Next, we're joined by Walter Pijls, CEO of the Brightlands Smart Services Campus, where today's event is held. He's leading the innovation in Limburg's ecosystem for AI and digital innovation. Walter, welcome. Could you give a quick introduction to who you are and what your role is here at Brightlands?
Absolutely. So my name is Walter Pijls. I'm the CEO since January 2024 from the Brightlands Smart Service Campus in Heerlen. So one of the 4 Brightlands campuses in the province of Limburg. This location is about data, AI, and is also one of the 7 AI hubs in the Netherlands. So we're very proud on that because AI is, of course, a very dominating domain.
Yes.
And a lot of things are happening in that space. And that's the topic where we do research and innovation around as an ecosystem.
So today we're actually at your campus right here. The Brightlands Startup League event is held today at the Smart Service Campus.
Yeah.
Could you give a quick introduction to what happens at the Smart Service Campus? You just mentioned some with AI and some
Yes.
digitalization.
Exactly. So this campus is mainly set up by the province of Limburg and the University of Maastricht, with all the 4 campuses. And every campus has a specific domain where you work on, and you have a private partner who's also connected to that. In our case, it's APG, so a neighbor, and a pension fund, which is a real digital company on the end. And in the beginning, so we started in 2016, this campus. The idea was really to get more talent in on the digital side to help them to grow the businesses. And what you do in this kind of campus is you work together with the education part. Have the students, the researchers connecting with businesses to speed up innovations. Because what they just learn in theory or what they just research, you like to bring that into practice. And that's what's happening on this kind of campuses all the time. That bridge and what you like with this kind of collaboration, that you speed up innovation in a specific domain. And the domain where we work for is data and AI. And that's what we do here. And an important step, you mentioned today we are here with the Startup League, is to have startups in that domain. Yeah. And I always compare it, and I come out of the automotive business, 24 years of innovation in that space. And if you compare an ecosystem like this, like an automotive engine, then I say, okay, you have a lot of components, what you have in a motor to make it work. That are the different kind of companies who are connected to this kind of ecosystem. They live here in this building, or they're connected to us. Then you've got students who are the oxygen, which you need, of course, as well. And startups is the fuel. And as much startups you have, as much innovation you can get. So that's really important to have those components together to speed up innovation in the area. And we do this really for the province of Limburg, the area where we live, to speed up innovation, but also create the new economic, that you create a new kind of possibilities for future companies to think differently in specific domains, which are of importance for the economy of the province of Limburg.
So you can really say that the campus here is actually a breeding ground for innovation.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely
a good term to put on it, I think, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're focusing a lot on digital, smart services, AI.
Yeah.
Are there any major things you're focusing on within these fields, or is it just in general broad AI and?
No, a good question that you posed that, because data and AI, of course, is a huge domain.
Yes.
And you cannot play everywhere. But what we do is we focus on 3 domains. What we think is very important for us, because that will also be a bit of the stepping point why you should come to Heerlen, to Limburg, and to work together. And the first one is about healthcare. We've got with the 4 Brightlands campuses, we've got an interactive ecosystem. And health as a topic is something what we do on all 4 campuses. Starting on the Venlo campus from healthy food, where you start from. In the Geleen campus was about the chemical part. It's about the biomedical part. Maastricht is, of course, with the academic hospital there, is directly on the medical side. What we do here is we do the AI part of it. And what we do here is bring parties together and to do development, innovations in, I call it the now, near, and far. And that you say, okay, what do you really need today to improve your working life in the healthcare system? And what's the next up? And there, of course, innovation is needed. What the unique thing is what we have set up here from a campus perspective, that we set up a collaboration, an alliance between the 5 hospitals which are located in Limburg, and which is unique of a kind. It's never in the Netherlands where this on a province level is set up. But what the benefit is for it is that we bring together then the needs from those different kind of hospitals, which are all different. They are different sizes, different disciplines. But in the end, they have less hands in the future to do the work. And on the other side, AI can be in kind of an part of the solution to help them out in that. So with that alliance, we have also access to the data of those hospitals. And with that, of course, AI algorithms can be developed. But in the same time, and looking a bit to the near and the far, while we develop this, and we like to do this on a kind of human-centered way, what is the need from the persons working on the floor in an hospital to see how AI can help and improve on administrative tasks, for instance. That's the first thing you like to adapt to. But the next thing is, of course, you also like to train them on how in the future they can use this new AI developments. And that take 1 or 2 years before they have the market readiness. But at the same time, also now the universities and knowledge institutions are preparing now a kind of new education system. How can we train those persons to work with AI systems? Yeah. And that's important, that you've got a bit of a near where also their part comes in. And of course, you've got a far where probably startups can come up with new ideas and where the problems from today cannot be solved with the technology, but in the future they will be. And this alliance will be in kind of a magnetic from different kind of perspective for all the ecosystem partners which are here. Partners who develop things, who have things on the table already, but also knowledge institutions to get them also into the equation. And I'm quite proud to say that Hogeschool Zuid is leading that activity for the knowledge institutions overall. To do this kind of future training. We can call this program as CareI, and to get the people on the working floor, let's say, trained in the future for the adoption of AI. And so everyone in the ecosystem has a kind of a role to play in the now, the near, and the far. Yeah. And that's where you're creating kind of uniqueness, because if you like to be a player in the future of healthcare in AI, then you should adapt to this ecosystem. And either you live in this ecosystem or you get connected from the outside. Yeah. Because, I mean, this building is nice, and we have a lot of companies, of course, here. But we also have the hospitals. They are not here, but we connect them via programs to cooperate.
So is that part of your job as a CEO as well? Is that there comes a startup in here? I'm working on some disease detection with AI or something. Yeah. And then the startup comes here, lives in the building, but then needs to go and get patient data or train the AI models. Then you connect them with
exactly, and that's the beauty, of course, because there's on themselves they don't have the capacity or the possibilities to connect to that. But that's where we bridge, and that's a uniqueness, I think, from an ecosystem. What we are here as Brightlands, that we make those connections for them and get those links, which typically wouldn't work from themselves. But if we know there is a specific need and we know what the technology they are developing is matching, then we can then bring that together and help speeding up that innovation process and develop AI solutions really matching to the needs which are there. And that's hard. As a startup, you can't go into a hospital and say, okay, maybe can you do something with me? But if we are the kind of the ecosystem player in that and adapting and connecting, then of course that's a beautiful role for us as campus to be in that position.
And what is the goal for the campus actually? If you look, you said the near and the future. Yeah. If you look at the future. Yeah. Because you've already accomplished great things with the campus.
Yes.
But do you want to take it
I would definitely like to go to the next level. I think everyone is looking to a next level, and for me, I just stepped in for 1.5 years now in the campus. Next year, the campus is there for 10 years, so it's the next milestone, of course. But we're working on the moment on the next 5 years. What is the vision where we like to go? But taking a look to the health care sector where we work on, that we really accomplish here in Limburg, unique space where those developments are catch on. That's on a European level, we are spot on with new developments in the area. And that is also a very important step, because we like to do this not just because we like it, because we like to create impact in the region. Yeah. That's a big healthcare need, especially also in Limburg, that we directly solve that. But the great thing is also for the solutions we bring in, if we can make this work in Limburg, we can scale it, of course, to the Netherlands or Belgium or Germany. And that's a unique thing here, because Aachen is just 10 minutes away from Heerlen. And that's this cross-border cooperation is so unique. And that's where we need to go to. I think definitely in the AI space, you see a lot of developments going on in the US and China. We like to do it ourselves in Europe. You see the stand-up of AI factories in Europe, that the data and AI algorithms really run on our own premises, let's say. And that means also that we need to develop it. And you need specific hubs where you go for those kind of developments. Now, and the healthcare is one where we like to stand for, but also for the economics from Limburg, the SMEs is quite important. And you see the typical companies, 10, 50 persons. They don't have the time in an innovation department who is taking a look what can AI bring for them. Yeah. And what we like to do is the same as in the healthcare sector, where we bridge the 5 hospitals together to see what is the overall common need, and do development time in half of it, because you can bridge that you do this also in the SME market, where we go in specific domains and take a look, for instance, in the process industry, how can you optimize things in that domain and develop it with our ecosystem partners, unique solutions, and then now near and far, again, the same thing as we do with hospitals, that you develop that. And then stimulate directly implementation. And on the other side, also help them to grow, because they need, of course, new content and a new working area to grow their companies.
Then to end it with one word, if you can also use a couple more. Yeah. But how would you describe your ambitions for the role that Limburg is going to play to make this kind of AI hub, but then not just on a Dutch level, but on a European level?
Yeah, I think one word is, of course, a bit of a difficult one, but I really like to go in this kind of implementation. So the smart implementation of AI, intelligent AI, that would be where we really look for to go. And that's the reason for us to be here. And not on the develop new algorithms, let's say, on a notchy way, and they call this kind of TLL level 1, 2, 3. Really where you go into the implementation side, where we can create impact on one side for the economy, but on the other side also keep traction for development companies and parties who are connected to us to also have a now, near and far future for them.
Perfect. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Okay, thank you.